Welcome everybody to our second WA Qlik user group this year. This time it is an unusual day because we always run it on Thursday, but today is Wednesday. Huh? That was last time we decided let's try to move it a little bit to see if we've got more people to come or less people to come. I can see it's less now, so it's probably that was the wrong decision. We will see. We'll see.
A bunch of people turn up tomorrow, you realize.
It might be the case. So I'll have many. Yeah. We discussed it last time. There were no people against it. I don't think so. So anyway, let's just see what is planned. Next event is planned on 27th of August. For now, we will see how it goes today, or as well as 26th of November. Are there any other news? Only probably one news from WA Qlik user group. Our meetup group hit a milestone, 100 people. But I don't see them here. That's probably not the best, but I can see some people are coming from there, like Rahul today is joined us. Thanks for that. Thanks for joining. And what else? We probably need to talk about our agenda. So we will start with Jun Favaro talking about what's new in Qlik, and probably he will share some Qlik information about Qlik connections. Then Craig Harper will share from Western Power. He will share his experience with connecting Qlik to the SharePoint. Then it will be me again with top 10 mistakes when creating data analytical app, as well as known as the tale of Marcus and the magic data crystal. So you may choose the version. I have actually 3 of them.
Is there a film?
Actually, there is, but I decided not to show it. It's not good enough. So after that, we will continue downstairs at James Street Bar on the ground floor with some networking. Right. So now over to you, June.
I actually brushed through all these slides just yesterday, so hopefully it's all looking good. But good evening. Thanks for joining, and really good to see everyone here. So I'm Jun Favaro with my Qlik colleague Satish. Oh, the Texas is not allowed. Anyway, so we're just going to cover what's new. It's not a roadmap session, but there are some hints with what's coming up next. So as a safety precautions, click next here. Quick legal disclaimer, for any roadmap information that you may have seen, it's a plan, it's not a commitment or a promise to deliver, so shouldn't be making purchasing decision based on features that has not been released yet. So I'll pause there for 2 seconds. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, anyway, so for those that are new, and I think this is for Rahul, this is what we call the Qlik end-to-end platform. It's only one slide, but just a quick introduction. Qlik started off as an analytics company with QlikView, as many of you are aware. But over the years, there's a continuous development, there's acquisitions and innovations. We've also delved into the data integration and quality side of the business as well. This is sort of what the overall picture looks like. If you start from the left-hand side, you have the different platforms, and we can move data, transfer data using change data capture. We can transform data, whether that's ETL or ELT approaches with automated patterns. You can set up rules, to fix your data quality issues, to get trust of your data. I should probably use my mouse a bit. There you go. Oh, it's a bit small, but and then from data integration, obviously you have the analytics front that's covering the being able to analyze data through predictive analytics, apps and whatnot, analyzing your structured data, and with the recent Gen AI capabilities. It's not really new these days, but for us, it's there's a lot of that stuff as well to cover unstructured data. And obviously, once you analyze data, you know how to get value out of that. It's being able to act on it. So essentially, that's automating your downstream processes based on your analysis, being able to report or getting alerts from it. And that sort of encapsulates the entire Qlik platform. It's a matter of what you need really to do with the data. And you know, we should be able to do that. Should be able to do that, sorry. Hopefully that's a very quick, clear introductions. As Sergey's mentioned, in the last couple of weeks, Qlik Connect has finished. But if you do want to watch or rewatch the keynotes or the product announcements, there's that link there. Very exciting stuff. Yeah, go and have a watch. So on to analytics product updates or AI as well. Mostly from Qlik Connect. These are things that has been announced. Obviously, there's a lot more details, but these are some of the major ones. So, first one is Agentic AI framework. This is pretty much the next phase of Gen AI. It's not just about being able to combine structured and unstructured data, whether that's with Qlik Answers or with Insight Advisor, but also having the automations layer to essentially let the Gen AI take actions. For example, if you want Qlik to automatically create Salesforce tasks, as an example. So that agentic AI framework, I think it's definitely some powerful stuff there. Secondly, in Qlik Connect, we introduced a new model. Now, formerly it was Qlik AutoML. We renamed that to Qlik Predict. So that's a new model there. Allows you to predict trends over time across different variables. So it's another way of forecasting there. Third is the write back feature. It is a way to edit table charts or data within a table chart directly in Qlik Cloud Apps. And that gets automatically synced across the active sessions without having to reload the apps. That's the wording. And number 4, table recipe. And this is comes across from the talent acquisition as well. And that lets you do a data prep in a no-code fashion, essentially in a spreadsheet-like experience. Let's say, you know, if you want your data to have lowercase or uppercases, you can do that directly in the table sheet itself. So very powerful stuff there. So these are the major announcements. There's key others as well, but I do want to mention something around the Qlik Embed. So Qlik Embed hasn't been too long since it's been released for Qlik Cloud. It is a no-code, low-code approach of embedding Qlik applications and other analytics capabilities we have into your own solutions. Could be your website, for example. It's an API-first platform. Essentially, it lets you seamlessly do that and then label the solution for your own business needs. And it supports multiple different toolkits and frameworks, as you can see in that GIF with iframe or Qlik Embed and different APIs or REST APIs. So again, really cool stuff there. I think that's really the major highlights. There's a lot more details in the link there. We have a video on YouTube covering what's new in the Qlik Cloud Analytics. And there's also an app. I think I did show this last time I was here, but there was an app that shows a lot of the new fancy stuff. Qlik. For analytics, so we've covered the Qlik Connect announcements, around Qlik Answers with agentic framework, the time series, the write back, the table recipe. In Q4, there will be another announcement, the seasonal release in October, covering what's, a summary of what's released. And in December, I think that's part of AWS reInvent. There will be another announcement from the analytics business unit. So that's analytics. And now we move over to the data product updates. That is the data integration front. Biggest piece really is the Open Lakehouse. Essentially, this is the new acquisition with Absolver from last year. Allows you to essentially ingest, process, manage Iceberg-based lakehouses. The launch is this month. The GA is coming in July. Just bearing that in mind. Now, if you haven't heard about Iceberg before, imagine it this way. You work with Snowflake, how you store data in Snowflake and then you query the data in Snowflake, but the data is locked in Snowflake. So you have to use their compute to analyze data and whatnot. Iceberg sort of takes that approach and opens it up where it decouples the sort of where the data is stored to the where you can use computes. So in this case, we release an engine that allows you to take data from different sources, turn that out into an Iceberg format. And then obviously you can use other engines as well. There's a data warehouse mirroring features where, because Iceberg is an open format, you can use other engines to consume the data with, that is in an Iceberg nature. Welcome. Our engine also has the adaptive Iceberg optimizer. Basically, when you have, let's say, change data capture, there's a lot of small files. As we keep generating files, the engine will be able to optimize it, making sure that it's, it doesn't, we're not just dumping files into the S3, for example. That's where we store the Iceberg. And yeah, it's cost optimization, it's query optimization at the same time as well. So that's the Open Lakehouse. Now, this Open Lakehouse will be available starting from the standard editions in Qlik Talent Cloud. So obviously we have 4 different editions of Qlik Talent Cloud. So if you have the standard, you can play with it, I think in July. So just a quick summary and benefits. It's ingesting high volume data in real time. I think the, there's experience with the Absolver around ingesting petabytes of volumes of data from different platforms. It's obviously cost savings through, optimizing the workloads, optimizing the storage from, the essentially, how do you say, compressing the data, the Iceberg itself with the engine itself. And that's obviously driving better performance as well when you consume data with icebergs. And the last bit is really just Qlik end-to-end platform, being able to, having everything unified in one platform gives you a better governance there. I didn't want to miss out on sort of a smaller piece of the updates in the data world. We recently supported GitHub integration. This is native within the Qlik Talent Cloud itself. And essentially you press a few buttons to update the repository. You can work with dev branches, main branches. Soon coming up as well, we'll be able to do a pull request from QTC. And right now we only support GitHub Cloud, but in the next half of the year, we'll provide support for Azure DevOps. And I think there's the approved pull request as well. At the moment, I think the approved pull request, you need to do that within GitHub, but that should come up in QTC soon. Yeah. I think at this point, this is only for Qlik Talent Cloud. I'm not sure. Integration part, correct? Yes. No, this is entirely for Qlik pipelines, but we do provide APIs for you to integrate into your pipeline if you want to interact with other, third-party vendors, for example. Now, for those that are new, we also have what we call Qlik Automate, and that is a no-code approach to, if you want to have a downstream process, integrating different platforms, automating processes there, then we have that as well. So this is just it's a nice to have, I think, in my view. If you work with a lot of developers from a data pipeline perspective, then it's very handy. I wouldn't want to miss out on AI buzzword, but in QTC, there's also lots of ways you can utilize Gen AI. It's all mostly, I think it's metadata driven at this point. So you have SQL Assistant to generate SQL queries as part of your pipeline. And these are not just, you imagine ChatGPT working with SQL queries, but it's obviously modeled for our platform. There's a few sort of, I wouldn't say specific to Qlik, but obviously it's catered to Qlik's processes, if that makes sense. There's no training performed on customer metadata, so you can be sort of sure that it's safe for use. And these AI-based assistants are available in these regions. And this can also be switched off and on in the tenant itself in Qlik Cloud. So, it's not a mandatory thing to have. I think that's about it from my end. I'm happy to take questions. Now, I might miss out on the analytics side, but sure. So, I think we're good.
For the AI assistant, that integration with, or it's we build LLM?
It is based on Bedrock in Amazon.
Bedrock.
Yeah. it's included. So this is it's in the backend of Qlik where you can use it without having to interact with Bedrock, and it's part of the our offering basically. If that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jun.
June, just one thing I want to add in here. You are talking about
Ajay.
the. Hello, hey.
Yeah.
We can hear you, Ajay.
Yeah.
And situ.
Okay. On the GitHub or like kind of like a versioning and all that. So with the Qlik Cloud, we can do up to 50 times versioning in the Qlik script. So it's like kind of auto scripted, so you can just name it directly in the Qlik. And with Qlik Automate, you can do much more on the individual apps and app object.
Yeah, thanks, Ajay. That's a good to know. Yep. Anyone else? Any other questions? Additions? No. Let's have a round of applause. Here we go. Over to you, Craig. Thank you.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Today I'm going to talk about our experience of swapping over to using SharePoint for storing our corporate documents. So what's the problem, or what's the thing that we're trying to solve? So I'm sure most of you are aware that every organisation is run on spreadsheets. None of this database, data lake stuff, it's all done on spreadsheets. Sometimes the back of an envelope. So we want our Qlik apps to be able to access that data, either to ingest it as raw data or for configuration. We want those documents to be obviously then be stored somewhere, and we want them to be able to be controlled so that people have the right access. We manage versions and we take backups. And the Qlik connections that we use to access those documents, we want them to be reliable and we want them to be secured. So only the appropriate people have access to those connectors, which gives you access to the documents. So every installation of Qlik on the planet uses folder connectors, and we're no different. Folder connectors have a Qlik admin service account credentials, and access to these folder connectors is by developers is controlled through AD groups. When you've got a folder connector, it enables you to connect to a particular folder on a file share, and it gives you access to all of the documents in that file share, provided that service account that you're using is being granted read access. So it sort of opens the door. It uses document name in the connection string rather than in any sort of ID, and it's read-write. So all of our QVD libraries are based off the folder connector. The access actually on the device itself, whether it's a folder on a server or what we call SIFs, our data appliance, is controlled through that Windows and Linux security processes. The main way that we've implemented our document management at Western Power is through a thing called Enterprise Document Management. It's a system. And in order to connect to that system, we use a connector type called web file. And web file's pretty easy. You provide it with a URL and a name, and away you go. It's all fairly straightforward. The web file connectors use, again, the Qlik admin credentials to go to the document. And so for those documents in the EDM system, you need to grant the Qlik admin account read access. When you use this approach, you can actually connect to a particular document. So hopefully here you can see this has actually got a strange looking number. That's actually a document reference ID. So there's underneath the covers, the system is able to say, oh, I know where that document is. It's over there. It's got this name. I'll go get it for you. The advantage of that is that if you rename it or you move it, the system handles it and your connector doesn't break, which is a good thing. This connection is read-only, so we can only ingest data, we can't write back out to it. The access actually in the system itself is controlled by the processes embedded in the document management system. So that's the thing that we've been using for quite some time. One downside of that is that it does generate a lot of connectors, because if you've got 100 documents and you want to go to that one specifically, then you need to build a connector to that document. So you end up with a lot of connectors. We do, yes, but we've actually found that it's better not to use that.
Oh, okay.
In our infinite wisdom, we decided to throw EDM out and get SharePoint. So out with the old, in with the new. So all of the apps that previously used EDM connectors now had to be swapped over and use SharePoint connectors. A very trivial thing, of course, or not. Luckily for us, Qlik has a Office 365 SharePoint metadata connector, which has been around since the May 2022 version of Qlik. And that connector basically has a base URL, which identifies your corporate domain, and then a site. So inside your data domain, you'll have multiple different sites. And so you can connect to that site. Each SharePoint connector has its own service account, and I'll explain why that is in a minute. And developer access again to the connector is controlled by AD groups. When you connect to a site, you have access to all of the documents in that site and all of the documents in subfolders, provided that that particular service account has been granted access. So you're not going to a specific document, you're going to a site, but you can have some measure of control by granting the relevant service account access. It uses document name rather than document ID. And in our case, because we have a Windows Enterprise version, it's on-prem, we can't write using this connector, but I understand that if you're using software as a service in the cloud, then you do have write back capabilities. Once again, the actual documents on the SharePoint are controlled via AD groups using the SharePoint security processes. So what's gone well? Let's go to the next slide. Performance has been okay. So if you sort of look around on the net and the community chats, it's been mentioned that the performance of the connector can be quite slow. We haven't really noticed that. The performance has been okay, which is good. Setting up the SharePoint connectors is not that hard. It's not trivial either, but it's not hugely onerous. And Lord knows we've had enough practice because we've set up quite a few. So that's been a plus. And in our circumstance, for the particular area that I work in, the transition has been reasonably okay because we've used what we call a layer of extraction. And I'll touch on that a bit more in a sec. So setting up the connectors, what we want to be able to do is we want to set up a connector that is going to enable us to access this document, but not that one. So I want to be able to differentiate between subfolders that are under the same site. And the way that we've got to a solution that works is by having a connector with its own service account, and that service account is granted access at the site level and at this particular subfolder and obviously the document, but not to this subfolder. So if you try and navigate down to the second subfolder, it will go, no, you don't have access, and it won't work. Obviously, if you want to get to the document that's in the second folder, you need another connector with its own service account. And that enables you to then navigate down to that particular subfolder and document. Because you can only connect at the site level, and from the site level, you then have to navigate down to the subfolder, and you can imagine that that subfolder has subfolders and that has subfolders and so on. The connection string can become quite long. Now, that's not such a big deal, it's just a lot of typing, but you do end up with quite a lot of connectors because you need to be able to have a connector for every site and for every subfolder. And in our world, those sites and subfolders are based on our enterprise information architecture, and we categorize our data by subject area, and we have over 500 subject areas. Well, we at the moment don't have a connector for every single one, but it's possible that we would do at some point end up with 500 connectors. This layer of abstraction that I'm talking about, we call the Qlik connections register, is a fancy word for an Excel spreadsheet. And it's a way that we've come up with of having a source name and basically a subroutine and an include file that you pass it that source name and an optional time period parameter. And depending on whether or not you are in production or you're in test, it will come back with the SharePoint connector for production and the SharePoint connector if you're in the test environment. Now, the vast majority of the time, those two things are the same because it's the same document. But if you're developing and you say, oh, actually, I want to modify that document in some way, so it's a configuration file, I want to take a copy and put it off over here, then through this mechanism, I can simply modify the connection name in test to point to that one over there. So I don't have to change any code in the script. By calling this Qlik connections register, it will automatically be able to cater for that swap between test and prod. Just as an example, when I mentioned that this connection string is quite long, I've actually modified this so that it's actually not a meaningful one. I've actually shortened it. If you compare that to what we used to have with our web file connector to the old EDM system, you'll see that it's substantially longer. So what's not gone so well? Our Qlik friends might want to leave the room with that. No, the Office 365 SharePoint connector has not been as reliable as it could be. We've been getting these random bad file size errors. And even today, we had a bunch of them in my workplace. This is a real worry because it is truly random. You will reload an app, it'll work, reload it again, it'll fail, reload it again, it'll work. And you go, the worst kind of error. So our business has been in contact with Qlik and with Microsoft to try and figure out what the hell's going wrong. Yes, we don't know. We haven't got an answer yet. Another issue that we've had is that the SharePoint connector licensing token is randomly expiring before it should be. And sorry?
That's Microsoft.
Okay. So again, this is something because it's random, because we've got a lot of connectors, we would like the licensing token to never expire, that'd be great, or to make it a longer period of time. But we're finding that in some instances, for some reason, they're expiring after a few weeks. And you go, what the hell's going on there? And again, we've been trying to work with the vendors to figure that out. The connection string is using the document name and the folder names. So as you saw, it's a great long string. That's a potential landmine, because if some user comes along at some point and changes the name of the document or moves it to a different folder, the connector will break, right? So the way that we had set it up in the EDM system, where you had a document reference and let the system say, here's a reference number, you go figure out where it is. I don't care, just go find it and give it to me. Whereas with this connection string, you have to explicitly say where it is and what's the name. For us, in our area, not all of our apps have used that Qlik connections register. And so those we've had to do some tweaks. And also, even though those that have used that, we still had to go in and tweak the code a little bit. Not a lot, just enough to be annoying. So we've had a team working on going through our Qlik apps and remediating them to make them all work properly. It's not rocket science, but it's just one of those things that takes time, and you need to go and test it and check it and all that sort of stuff. So it's been a wee bit of a saga. Now this one, this is just a code snippet to go and load something from a SharePoint connection where this flag is equal to a Y. Works perfectly, hooray. This doesn't. The reason there's spaces between the equal sign and the Y. Now, I don't know about you, but I call this an undocumented feature.
That's definitely a feature, not the bug.
Honestly, we had a bunch of us scratching our heads going, why the hell is this not working? And then someone said, oh, what happens if you just remove the spaces? Like, oh, as if, oh, bloody hell, it works. Okay, so just something for the developers of that particular connector to take note of. Yes, Sergey. Well, it doesn't matter if because, no, you're right. It doesn't. I didn't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what's on our wish list? Because as customers, we always want more, right? The ability to connect to a particular document the same way that we could back with EDM, and not have this great long traversion through a folder path, and using the document ID so that if someone does come along and changes the name of the target document, it's not going to break. Well, we obviously want to convert all our apps to use the Qlik connections register and the include file, and we very much want that fix the reliability and licensing token issues that we've been having. Overall rating, I gave it 6 out of 10. To be honest, I think it's lucky to get a 6. After today, us developers at the front line suffer the slings and arrows. In our particular circumstance, we have a long chains of reload tasks. And if something like this happens where a reload fails at the start of the chain because the licensing token has expired prematurely, it means that all the other ones in the chain have not reloaded either. And that process might take an hour and a half, 2 hours to go through that particular chain. So for us, these random errors have really caused a lot of heartache, and it's not been very pleasant. So to our friends from Qlik, we have been in contact with you as the vendor, but if you can help us out, grease the wheels so that these things get resolved quicker, and I'll buy you a beer. Sorry?
I'll send an email to her, and the wish list?
Yes.
Yeah. I've taken a photo of that.
Okay, good.
Are you okay with that going to Qlik?
I would prefer that it went from our
Support.
Qlik functional support team rather than from me.
Then-
Yeah, no, thanks. Okay, any questions?
Sergey and Craig,
Yeah,
Ajay here. Hey, thanks on it. I looked at your wish list and the way things transform. Actually, that's good, because I will say one level before where we have the FTP or NTFS file sitting in our local file server, right? So the transition is almost similar. We had gone through similar cases. Maybe I will take it up separately with Satish and Sergey, how we can take it on. With the connector, the way what it is working, and there is also a OneDrive connector, which is like little bit, I will say like bit different in the cloud. But as you're on the on-prem, so let's have a catch up and then I'll go through deeper on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Ajay.
Maybe if all goes fine, like next meetup, we may have some update.
All right. Okay, all right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, any questions to Craig?
We're just reading a document that's basically on a file server somewhere on the
In the internet.
SharePoint.
Yeah.
So whatever frequency that is being updated by something, it depends on the reload frequency of the app that's reading. So if you set the reload frequency at 10 minutes, it'll reload it every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But whether or not that document is being updated every 10 minutes, so the vast majority of the time it's just Excel spreadsheets. So whatever frequency they're being updated, that drives the reload frequency.
I think it's worth mentioning that Qlik generally it does batch loading. So you read the data from database, table, Excel spreadsheet, and it keeps it. And then when data updated, you need to reload it again, and you just put it on schedule, and it just works. So, but actually, less for those errors and mistakes, we do work with the SharePoint connector a lot, but I think mostly in Qlik Cloud. And there are some errors, but not as you have them. We've got other ones. Yeah, but Western Power is always special case. Yeah, I agree. So and you have just special requirements because you've got many developers developing different things that have different access, and yeah, it's different. It's very different use case.
So you're saying it's all their fault? So
No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that. Anyway, thank you, Craig. Thank you very much. So it was a great presentation. So for those people who don't know me, so my name is Sergey Makushynski, and I've been using Qlik from 2008, which makes it how many years now? 17, something like that. So like starting with Qlik View, then moving to Qlik Sense, then doing some other things. So basically, yeah, and I saw so many, some of those mistakes will be mine, or some of them would be not mine, never done them. So, but basically had to fix them at some point. So, and actually I have 2 presentations. One is official one, like this one, you see, it's like, yeah, like normal presentation, isn't it? So, however, I decided to have some fun, and it's actually up to you. Do you want official version or fun version? Fun version. Okay. Yeah, I expected it. So, in this instance, we will just go here. And we will go with the detail of Marcus and the magic data crystal. So, hear me out.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, in a bustling kingdom of commerce, there lived a merchant named Marcus who owned a prosperous trading company. His warehouses overflowed with goods from distant lands, and his ledgers were thick of records of countless transactions. Yet Marcus felt troubled. For while his business generated mountains of information each day, he couldn't unlock the secrets hidden within. Surely, Marcus thought, if I could harness the power of all this data, my business would flourish beyond my wildest dreams. So Marcus summoned the most renowned data wizards in the kingdom, a team of skilled analysts and master contractor known for building magnificent data applications. He showed them his vast collection of scrolls, ledgers, and records. "Build me a magical application," Marcus declared, "that will reveal the hidden patterns in my data and guide my business to greater success." So, data wizards, eager to impress, spent months poring over Marcus's records. They created beautiful charts and intricate analysis, believing they had to perfect their understanding before building anything. They thought big and built big too, when they should have thought big but prototype small. So week after week passed with no working magic to show. The wizards were trapped in what the village elders called the analysis paralysis curse. Forever analyzing but never building, creating perfect plans instead of daily iterations. "Build daily, learn daily," whispered an old sage who passed by Marcus's shops, but wizards didn't listen. When the wizards finally began building, they created their application based solely on their own grand specifications, copying designs from other merchants rather than understanding Marcus's unique needs. They never asked Marcus or his merchants how they actually worked each day. The result was a generic golem, an application that tried to serve everyone but pleased no one. It was like a chair built for average person that was too small for the tall, too large for the short, and uncomfortable for all. Rather than leveraging the special powers of their tools for Marcus's specific business, they fell under the copycat curse, creating like-for-like copies of what they'd built before. Marcus's head clerk, Sarah, looked at applications and sighed. "This doesn't fit how we actually do business at all," she said. But the wizards had already moved on to adding more features. Whenever Marcus asked, "Why do our sales dip in third quarter?" the wizards would give him a surface answer and consider the matter closed. They never dug deeper with the ancient technique of asking why 5 times in succession. Thus, Marcus learned that sales dipped but never discovered it because his main competitor launched promotions, which happened because they received new inventory, which occurred because of seasonal shipping patterns, which were driven by harvest cycles he could predict and prepare for. So the wizards had given him a fish, but never taught him to fish in the deeper waters of understanding. The completed application was a sight to behold, and not in a good way. Charts, graphs, gauges, and tables covered every inch of the screen like ivy on a castle wall. Colors flashed and numbers danced, but Marcus felt more confused than enlightened. "It's like trying to drink from a waterfall," Marcus complained. The wizards had created visualizations without context, leaving Marcus drowning in the data but thirsting for insight. Some parts showed too little detail to be useful, while other parts overwhelmed with minutiae that buried the important insights. Like Goldilocks, Marcus searched for information that was just right, but rarely found it. When Marcus met with the wizards, he said, "I need a dashboard to track my business." But in his mind, he pictured something that would tell him the story of what was happening and why. Meanwhile, his head clerk, Sarah, asked for a report on quarterly performance. But what she really wanted was an interactive dashboard where she could explore different time periods and drill down into details. The chief accountant requested storytelling visualizations, but actually he needed just a simple report he could print and file. So the wizards, hearing these conflicting words, tried to build everything at once. They created a confused chimera that was part dashboard, part story, part report, satisfying no one because it failed to match what anyone actually needed. Like the ancient Tower of Babel, where everyone spoke different languages, Marcus's team and wizards used the same words but meant entirely different things. No one stopped to ask, when you say dashboard, what exactly do you need it to do for you? Yes. Strangest of all, the wizards built beautiful data tables. They did nothing but export information to Excel scrolls. Marcus's team found themselves doing their real analysis in the same old spreadsheets they used before. Why did we build this magical application just to go back to our old ways? Marcus wondered aloud. Even worse, when Marcus tried to investigate interesting patterns he discovered, the application stopped him at the surface. There was no way to drill down into the details that mattered. It was like a well that looked deep but only held a few inches of water, impressive from above, disappointing when you tried to use it. In addition to that, the application took so long to load data that Marcus could brew tea, drink it, and watch the cup before his numbers appeared. The wizards had fallen under the snail's pace spell, trying to process 10 million records every day without optimization, cracking and groaning under the load like an overload wagon. They could have used quick view data crystals and optimized loading spells with techniques like where exists magic, but they were too busy building features to fix the foundation. They had built a giant where a nimble athlete wasn't needed. The application only showed Marcus what was happening now or this year to date. He couldn't compare this month to last month or see trends across seasons. It was like having a telescope that only looked at one star in the sky, missing the vast constellation of insights that time perspective could provide. Most tragically, the wizards never identified a champion within Marcus's company, someone who would promote and improve the application. When they finished their work and departed, the application sat unused, like a beautiful garden with no gardener to tend it. Without a champion to nurture and evolve the application, it remained static, while Marcus's business needs continued to grow and change. Worst of all, the application required constant feeding and care. Every new year, every small business change, every tiny modification required the wizards to return and cast new spells. Code was filled with the manual date calculations like case when 25 use 25 that broke with each passing year. The application became a burden rather than blessing, consuming more resources than it provided. It was like a magical creature that grew hungrier with each feeding, never improving, but always demanding for more maintenance. After months of frustration, Marcus met an old data sage in the marketplace. The sage listened to his tale and nodded knowingly. Young merchant, the sage said, you have learned the hard way what not to do. Now let me teach you the ancient wisdom of successful data applications. The sage shared the secrets. Build daily, learn daily, small iterations beat perfect plans. Ask your users how they work, don't assume you know. Dig deep with 5 whys to find root causes. Show what matters, when it matters, in context. Clarify what people really mean when they ask for dashboards, reports, or stories. Create paths to deeper understanding while avoiding Excel experts. Balance detail with clarity. Make it fast, make it focused with optimized data loading. Show time in all its dimensions. Find champions who will nurture your creation. Designed for low maintenance and continuous improvement. No, not yet. Marcus took his wisdom to heart and found new data wizards who understood these principles. Together, they built applications that truly served his business, helping it grow and prosper. And they all lived analytically ever after. The end. The moral of the tale. The most powerful data application is not the most complex one, but the one that serves its users simply, quickly, and effectively. True data magic lies not in impressive features, but in actionable insights delivered at the right time to the right person in the right way. The end. Hopefully it wasn't too long.
No, that was good.
No, no. Actually, you wouldn't believe. This presentation, as well as this script, was written by Cloud AI with my input. So that was just, but yeah, a little bit of input. This Q in the right-hand side, that corner. So. Oh, I've got one elder one. Oh, yeah. So anyway, any questions? No? Okay, good.
Any real example from your previous presentation?
Yes, I can actually go. Like I had lots of examples for each of them, but it was just describing it so cool and so well. So we can discuss let's just go look at it. Yeah. So first is science to build a bit official one, but a really quick one. Science that you build a good app. People use it, and people ask you to add more. So for me, that's the best science. It means that you build something useful. If it's not happening, then something went wrong. Building to spec without user input. Yeah, basically, we had once a project that lasted for 2.5 years, where we didn't have access to business users. And the requirements were changing every 2 weeks. And basically the application would never reconcile to their numbers. Why? Because it was the requirements were changing, like the calculations they were changing every 2 weeks. So I would say it's while that project was named successful, I don't know, for me it was probably the worst one of the worst ones. So but yeah, we did well. I mean, we got paid and all of that, but the usefulness of it is questionable. And not because we built not right. It's because we didn't have access to the people because they were sitting in a completely different country, and there was a business analyst between us and basically we were trying to build that was something that was changing all the time. So you can't really automate something that is changing all the time. So anyway, next one. Too much analysis, not enough building. Generally it's not my issue. Like I just know that some people try to do wireframes and then do some preliminary analysis, and then but sometimes I have a good example from health from New South Wales. Basically, they were trying to get the population health dashboard up and running using AIDS, HIV data, which is highly obfuscated. You can't really get details of people. But if you think about it, population health dashboard, they wanted to see the intersections between different dimensions. But when the data completely obfuscated and you have, okay, for this suburb, this is your statistics, and for that suburb, this is your statistics. But you can only compare it on a very, very high level, and it doesn't really tell you anything. So that's why we discussed a lot, and they wanted really lots of things. However, when you started to look at the data and find that, oh, but you just don't have enough granularity, sorry, but it's not going to happen. You need to do something else. Still possible, but much harder. So overwhelming visualizations. I mean, I think everybody faced that, no? So you just put lots of effort and all these visualizations, and it looks so nice, but then you say, oh, what does it mean? What it means? And they're just not sure. Yeah. So, however, there are sometimes, like I had one very complex one once, but that was the users asked for that. So basically, the chart would change its type and even what it was showing depending on what people click, but they wanted it that way. So when users understand what they want, when they know what it does, you can do it. You can still do it. So yeah, there are. I mean, you can see some my notes, solutions, and so on, but I'm not going to cover it. Confusing app types. I found that this is happening all the time. People saying I want a dashboard, but actually they want a table to export into Excel. Yeah. And they call they never call them applications, so they just they call it dashboard more often than which is not really dashboard. Like for me, the what we built in general is application, where you've got end dashboard and some analysis and some reporting, and you can export into Excel, but you need to understand what it is. It's not just dashboard, because dashboard is whatever you've got in your car, showing you speed and probably nothing else. You don't need anything else. Do you need anything? Oh, amount of fuel. Yeah. So creating tables for data export only. Yeah, I do not believe it's a right way to do it, because in this instance, all analysis is moved somewhere else, and you simply, I mean, you can use Excel and SQL query to make it happen. So Qlik, you don't need Qlik for that or any other visualization tool. Insufficient drill down capability. So what I meant by that is people build quite often they don't use associative engine that Qlik provides. They simply say, okay, this is my SQL query. I got the table that I need from the data source, and then just visual display of that data, but it won't really provide you enough details, or it won't ask, or it won't answer those questions that you may ask, but you haven't thought of. So that's why I prefer to bring tables as they are, link them together into the data model, and then depending on what arises, show it, or let people show it just by using self-service. So, but that's my way. Our way. Wrong level of detail, similar thing. What else? Like platform migration. Oh, this is the hilarious one. Once I saw, I had a question when people were trying to move from Cognos to Qlik. I won't name the organization. Everybody knows it anyway. So, and the question from developer was, okay, can we make Qlik to run different SQL query when the user selects a particular type of report? And my question was just only a why. Yeah, because basically Qlik doesn't work that way. Why would you use? Why would you try to use it this way? So, or sometimes they just try to build Excel in Qlik or in something else. So. Limited time perspective. I think this is very important and very underestimated one, because quite often people want to see developers or consultants, they don't think what happens if people select a year or a month or a day or something. So they just simply do not think about it. You need to think what you would display if something is selected. And if you just put a little bit of thinking in there, you will find that, okay, you just need to switch maybe between year to date or month to date, or just leave it as is, like I call it none or where when people can simply explore the data, whatever they selected, which is the most powerful thing, I would say. However, it's not for every business case. Sometimes you just like finance applications, they're very simple. You selected year, you selected month, you want to see together year to date, month to date, quarter to date, and sometimes inception to date, depending on what you're looking. So no business champion. Yeah, I had this one. Yeah, that's, but sometimes if there is no business champion that promotes your application, basically you may even not start. Definitely unlikely will work because the application won't be used. Because sometimes it's important not that you develop the application, but actually how it's implemented into business processes, that embedded into business processes. So people rely on the information that it provides and also input that information that will be source for that applications. And there are many other things. That was top 10, and this is top 10, 8 on top 10 B and C, and so on and so on and so on. So yeah, sorry, I actually ran through 2 presentations today. Any questions? Or maybe anyone would like to share their mistakes or whatever the mistakes they saw? No? Yes.
We've had instances where the end users say, oh, we want 100 years worth of data.
Yes.
And you go, but you only used like this year and maybe last year and very rarely the year before and almost never the year before that. And you want me to get you 20 years worth of data for one time in a year that you want to use that. No, we want all the data. And so if you do build it, it's gigabytes in size. It's huge. You know, millions and millions of records. I think sometimes as a business analyst and developer, you need to be able to diplomatically push back a bit and say, look, we can do it, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the downside effect is blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So having too much data can be really quite detrimental, especially to performance.
Yes, I agree.
And we've actually had instances where the end users have been in a presentation situation and have tried to use the app, but it's been so slow that it's been embarrassing for them.
Yeah.
So, well, you know, we tried to tell you.
But there is a solution for that. So we built even, I think for BPNR in Western Power, we built 2 versions. One is a couple of last years and another one is historical. So if you really want to go just to the second one, to one time in the year or in your lifetime, and then just use for everyday use, just use a small one, and it works for other companies too. Yeah. So it's and you can still, the second one is slower, but sometimes you can kind of not really pre-aggregate results, but make it a little bit shorter, so it still works. Anyone else? No. So on this instance, let's finish it off because I think drinks are waiting for us. If you have anything to share, raise your hand. No? Didn't work this time. Oh, here we go. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Something which I would like to share is like, you know, I just wanted to explore like how this thing compared to Tableau or something. Where I can get some idea or experience of any Qlik team or something.
Yeah.
Because we mainly work with the US customers.
Yeah, it's very different to Tableau because Tableau is mainly focused on storytelling. Okay. So basically, and I can tell you, Tableau always wins in dashboard challenges. Why? Because it's beautiful by default, and especially when it's done with the right people, it works really well. However, I would question how it is useful in everyday life. because Qlik is more, as I mentioned before, you build more applications, not a particular dashboard to answer one question. You build it more robust. I mean, it's expected that you build it more robust. You can do whatever you want. So, but that's my opinion. Maybe someone else can share theirs, but we can discuss it over drinks. Yes, but this slide is, if you want to present something, just basically raise your hand and make it happen. So we can always find a spot for you. We lost another person in our committee. That's why you see it's open here. So please, if you want to join the committee to help to run this event, raise your hand. We will see what we can do. And I think this is it for today. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining those who are online.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ajay.